Peace family, welcome back to the RV rebuild series. In today's episode we're going to be doing some more mechanical work. I have been diagnosing a fuel pump cutoff issue for a little while now, and I've narrowed it down to the fuel pump relay. The old one was bad. I got a new one. This is a 5-prong. The old one on the inside was a 4-prong, but it's a 5-prong connector, so I figured, okay, the 5-prong relay will work just fine. But I think it's doing something to close the circuit, or it's just not activating the relay how it's supposed to be, because when the new relay is in, I'm having the same issue, and when I took the relay out, it's running just fine. That was yesterday. I fixed it, and then today I came out to start it up. I started it, same thing happened, it shut itself off, and then I put the relay back in. The problem persisted. I took the relay out again. Now it's working just fine. So I think it's something about this closing the system. I need to find that 4-prong relay, I'm pretty sure, to fix this issue and address it. I gave the part number for the original, it was the original relay, and I gave the part number, and this is what they gave me. They were both pretty much identical for the tank selector valve relay and the fuel pump cutoff relay. They were two different colors for some reason, but they were both 5-prong, even though the old one is a 4-prong. So I'm 99% sure that will fix it. Otherwise, hopefully it'll just run without the relay. I understand that eliminates some safety precautions in terms of oil pressure, for the oil pressure cutoff switch and stuff like that, but I'd rather it just run and I can keep an eye on that stuff mechanically, speaking like with the oil pressure gauge and things like that, since the gauge is still working, and the sensor is still working and all that. So that's all on a totally unrelated note. I just wanted to give you guys an update, because when I had done the oil pressure switch, it had temporarily fixed the issue because they're linked together, and then I think it blew the relay, and now that I have the new relay, that is probably the wrong relay, it's still not working, and then without it, it works and runs fine, with the exception of the first time I started it this morning. Without the relay in, it shut itself off, but I've managed to fix that problem again, so not entirely sure what's going on, but I'm almost positive I'll be able to fix it with that new relay. So all that aside, we're going to be doing a fuel pump replacement and on both tanks, since it's a dual tank system, and I'll be doing the sending unit on the rear tank so that I can get my fuel reading on the fuel gauge again. And they're both working just fine, but it's kind of a preventative maintenance thing, and I don't know when they've been done, if they've ever been done, so I definitely want to do it before I leave. And I'm also going to have the tanks cleaned, and I'll paint them just to prevent any rust or anything like that in the future. But I'll show you guys a little step-by-step of how to drop the tanks, take out the old pump, put in the new pump, and just inspect everything, things like that. So let me get started, and I'll show you guys in a few minutes here. Alright, so first things first, obviously you want to locate your tank. These older Fords have these belts that are like a T. I'm not sure if it's still like this on the newer models, but there's a T-pull here that once you undo the bolt on the other side, this will kind of like latch down, and you can actually just turn it and take it all the way out. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna paint them when the time comes. And then up here we have our fuel and our fuel lines. This is the return line, and then they are just regular hose clamps. The newer model Fords have like a special thing, and you need a tool to get them off, but these older ones, they're just pretty basic. They're not spring loaded or anything. And then the hard line runs into the sending unit, and then we've got our connector for the fuel pump power. And then on the back side, the tail end, we have our fuel inlet and vent hose, and those are just regular clamps as well. And then on the rail side of things, the belt comes up, goes behind the frame, and they're actually just bolted right here. So you undo these bolts, you let these down, they'll kind of just swing backward. You can take them all the way up like I mentioned before, but prior to that you just want to undo all of your hoses, your electrical connector, make sure there's no power going to it while you're doing this, and then you can drop the tank. Once the tank is dropped, it's probably ideal to have a jack to kind of lower it down so it doesn't fall on you, but obviously you want to do this when the tank's empty. The front tank is already empty, so I'm just going to start with that, and then I'm going to have to drain the rear tank before I do that one, and it's a much bigger tank too, so it'll be a lot heavier, so I definitely want it to be empty beforehand. And I'm doing the sending unit on the rear tank but not the front tank because that one still works, and they're quite expensive, so I decided to just get 1 and 2 pumps. And then once the tank is off, you can undo the sending unit assembly, put in your new pump, and check all that stuff. Alright, first tank is out. This is what we're going to be taking out to replace the pump inside. I undid the vent port by accident, but I'm probably going to have this boiled out and then I'm going to paint it, so I have to take this off anyway. But just a heads up, these are really hard to get back in, so if you don't need to take yours out, I'd advise leaving it alone. Yeah, tank's in pretty good shape. I'm just gonna go do a little inspection underneath to make sure nothing got moved or damaged while I was removing this, and then we'll go ahead, open this up, and change out that pump. Alright, the sending unit is out, and it is in very terrible shape. The float has holes in it, it's all cracking, and I'll show you guys in the light here. It's pretty much destroyed, and the fuel pump sock ripped off as I was taking it out. Yeah, it's seen better days, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and get a full sending unit for the front. The one they sent me is actually the wrong one, so I have to fix that problem. But if it wasn't for the fact that this was broken, I may put it back in, because although it looks terrible, it's just regular wear, but all the wiring still looks good. The pump actually still works, and the float surprisingly still worked, so I think I'm gonna just have to replace the whole thing, because I don't have a new sock for the pump they gave me, and I'd rather just put in a whole brand new unit. So this is what it looks like. Make sure if you have this gen E350, they give you the right part. Like some places, the sending unit without the pump looks different. It only has one gas line and 2-prong connector, and it's straight, it's not angled like this. And yeah, if you get them separately, they'll probably end up giving you the wrong parts, so make sure you get the full assembly. It's definitely recommended. But yeah, pretty rough, so I'm gonna have to source some new ones. But yeah, to get your sending unit off, this is the second tank, by the way. To get your sending unit off, there's this piece, because the sending unit top is flat, and then there's this piece that locks into the gas tank, It has like little lip on it, so you're gonna want to turn. It's locked underneath these little, it's so dirty it's hard to see, but you're gonna want to turn it, and then you can take that off, and then this just slides out. And just so you're aware, the sending unit for the front tank is smaller than the back tank. It's this arm part is not as long, so when they're together you can see this extends out more, and then the sending the float will be down a bit lower. So if you don't get the right size, like if you get a smaller one, it'll tell you your tank is empty before it's actually empty, and you won't be able to get the bottom of the tank pumped up. So make sure you get the right sizes if possible. Peace, family. Welcome back. We are back into the gas tank pump and sending unit replacement. As we all know, the old tanks are there. I ended up getting both new tanks. I already painted this one. The bottom still needs to be done. Otherwise, it is painted and ready to go. This is the midship tank. This is the rear, 22 and 18. It's been a few days because I've been literally living at the parts store essentially. So as we can see, there's a lot of papers, but I've had to make several returns and all sorts of crazy stuff, but I think I finally figured out the way we're gonna do this. So the reason why things have been so tricky is, as you can see here, it's a big opening for the sending unit. Much smaller. This is the original size that was on these guys here. So I've been having trouble with that, and the reason being, motorhomes, they're always just weird amount of parts. So if you have a regular E350, it's probably this size, I hope, for your sake. Otherwise, you know, if you're getting a replacement tank, this is probably smaller, because initially what they had given me is just the sending unit, and then you'll have an inline pump, whether it be electrical or mechanical. Either way, that's the size it will be. If it's both, it's this size for the newer part. But there's no tank. They had given me the sending unit for this with the new size, everything's good. I have to redo the wiring for it, and I was gonna do the same for this, but this hole is not big enough. Fortunately, I still have my old part, but they don't make this size for both of them anymore. It's not a thing you can get. I went to Ford, I went everywhere, and they can't find it. I went to the Fleet Center, and they specialize in stuff like that. So what I had to do was, considering the sending unit still worked on both of them actually, just the rear tank, the float was full of fuel, so it didn't work. I just replaced the pump for the sending unit that's going in the midship tank. So brand new pump. This is the old one. As you can see, huge difference. And freshened up the sending unit. I don't know if you remember, but it was all caked in like electrolysis rust. I did the best I could. It's looking pretty fresh. I digress. I have no float for it. I have the one that was full of fuel that has a hole in it, and so my really only option is to patch that, or maybe I can get lucky and find one online, but that's kind of where we're at. This one is going back in, so I don't have to redo the wiring for this, but for the rear tank I will have to redo the wiring. This is the old sending unit that would have been in this tank. See how much smaller that is than this whole opening. It's nearly half the size, so I'm gonna hang on to that, I guess. Just maybe if someone needs it. It still works, it just has no float. And I've got the old tank, so if you're in the Ottawa area in Ontario and you need this, I will give it to you for free. Just reach out to me and we'll get you set up with that, or you can pay to have them shipped if you really need them. So yeah, let me know and we can set something up. But I'm gonna try and figure out a float situation for this, and then I have to get the sock for the pump. It's coming in a couple days, and then I'll be able to install the midship tank. The rear tank has a different sending unit. As I had just mentioned, it's huge. Like, let's compare the two of them here. This is the old one. This is the new one. Big difference. It makes it look like such a mini little toy thing when you have them next to each other. But this is 4-prong. And this is 3. So I had to order the connector, and then I'm going to have to splice the wiring for the 3-way connector, set it up on the connector in this order. It's going to be ground, positive, and then the blue is the sending unit, which is the black wire on here. Because this ground was initially on this one, it just went from the pump to the little strap right there. So it was an internal ground, and then the middle one there is the dead ground, and that's the dead ground as well. So I don't have to change this one. It'll be these 3 that stay the same, and then I have to add a ground to the chassis for this one. So nothing too crazy, but it's got to be done if I want to have a fuel pump and sending unit and a rear gas tank. I tried to get a larger gas tank. They make a 38-gallon one that can replace this. I think it may fit. It's for the F series, but it was like more than double the price, and they weren't sure if they could even get it, so I just played it safe and I went with the 22-gallon here, which is this black one that I've painted so far. And we'll see. It makes 40 gallons, so I'll be getting around 500-600 kilometers on both tanks, which is all right, but considering it's going to cost close to 200 bucks to drive that distance, it's maybe not so great, but I digress. This one has the sock already, so no need to worry about that. But this one has a return that goes all the way down to the bottom, and these ones are just right at the top. I think, don't quote me on this, but US Motor Works makes the replacement for this for the front tank, but it would have ended up costing me $400 to try and get that part online, and this was like $160. So I'm just gonna do the wiring, and it'll also make my life easier in the future if I ever need to change this out for some god-awful reason. But these are pretty good, they'll last. It'll outlive everything else, so I'm not too worried about that. And obviously you've got a plastic float instead of the metal one, so that's a lot of information all at once. I understand that, but I want you guys to be fully sure and confident of what you need to get to make this work. So this is the F15B tank from Spectra. This is the SP376H fuel sending unit and pump assembly, And then the pump that I put on the original units, if you just want to do your pump, it's SP1152. And they don't make these, they definitely don't make this one anymore. Ford was very, or sorry, this one, the one for the mid tank. They were very adamant on the fact that they don't make that anymore, and US Motor Works might make this one. I'm not quite sure yet, but anyway, I'm gonna finish painting the tanks. I gotta clean that one off, paint it. Once the sock's in on Thursday, I'll be able to put that one up, and then tomorrow I'm getting the connectors to do the wiring, and I'll put this one up. But before I install everything, I'll make sure once I do the wiring that the pump cuts on and everything, and we have a functioning system before it's all mounted up. And I got new straps for that. I'm also gonna paint those as well, and I painted the original straps for this, so it's all coming together. It's been very crazy, but I also managed to get the original fuel pump cutoff relay, the 4-prong. It's a very expensive part, but it's necessary. So everything should be beautiful once it's all said and done and put back in, and I won't have to worry about any crazy fuel stuff while I'm on the road. So I'm looking forward to that, and yeah, let's go. Alright guys, we've got the connectors, everything is painted and ready to go for the rear. For the midship tank, I'm still waiting on the sock for the fuel pump. For some reason or other, they don't sell them together as one, so I need the sock here, and I also got to figure out a float situation. I'm gonna see if I can find one online, otherwise I have to repair the one that I already have. But essentially what we're gonna do is, I already put in an extra ground on the chassis. I just used these little eyelets, self-tapping screws, and some copper wire. And we've got the connectors. So let me show you. Okay, so this is it. This circular part goes on the sending unit assembly, and then this is the ports where I'm going to be putting my own connectors. So basically what we're going to do is we've got these little things which will be going, the wire for the existing setup is going to be cut and then put in here and pinched off, and then they go into here like so, all the way, and they click in, and then these go, basically these will be all the way through, and then the bolts for that are on the ascending unit will touch that, and it'll close the connection. So this is just a plastic piece. So really all I'm doing is closing the circuit. Pretty straightforward, but I opened up the casing for the current 3-prong wire, and it's a orange and a red and black. And then there's the ground, which is the one that has like kind of the deadbolt on top. It grounds to the chassis, so there's going to be 2 grounds to the chassis now, instead of there being a ground inside the fuel sending unit like the old ones. I guess it's to prevent corrosion and premature failure. So we just have 2 chassis grounds. It's no big deal, but I need to determine which one is the sending unit and which one is the pump, because they're not the same colors. In the sending unit assembly, it's a black, small black wire for the sending unit and a red wire for the pump. So I'm assuming the red black is for the pump and the orange is for the sending unit, but I'm gonna see if I can find something that can verify that for me. But yeah, once I figure it out, I'll let you guys know, so that if you're doing the same thing, you don't have to worry too much, and you can just get straight to it. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and just put this on the assembly like so, and then I'm gonna just label, probably just put a piece of tape on the top and write down which wire goes where, so when I'm hooking them up I don't mess it up, because I feel like once they're in there they're gonna be really hard to get out if you can get them out at all, so they definitely lock in place. So that's what I'm gonna do right now, and I'm gonna try and find the wiring diagram, and then we'll get going, do the wiring. I'll test the unit just on battery. I'll see if the pump comes on real quick, and then same with the sending unit, see what kind of reading we get, and then once I know that it works, I'll go ahead and I'll install the rear tank and get some gas in there. Exciting. And yeah, let her run, I guess. Right, so like I was saying, this connector, it can only go on one way, so once you have the proper setup for your wires, you can't mess it up in the future. But that clicks on, there's like a tab in the back, it clicks down, and we're gonna get pump ground, pump power, sending unit power, and then deadbolt. So that's where I'm gonna put the ground that was already the existing ground, because the other one has a deadbolt as well, so I'm just gonna use that. The new ground will go for the pump, and then we'll have the positive for the pump and the sending unit in the middle, with the pump being on the left and the sending unit being on the right, red and blue. So unfortunately this doesn't have the same colors either, so I'm definitely gonna have to figure out which wire is which. I haven't done that yet. I'm about to go see what I can find. Maybe I'll have to dissect the plug, the old plug connector thing, and see what the orientation is like on the inside, but hopefully I can find something online. But for now I'm just gonna label that and be done with it. So I can't find anything for the 3-prong wire diagram. The diagram that I do have aren't these color wires, so I don't know what's up with that, but I just dissected the old one a bit. This is the dead plug, that's sending unit, and that's pump. When I put it on, the wires split this way, the red goes this way, the orange goes that way, so the red goes to the pump like I suspected. It's a red-black wire, makes sense. And then the orange goes to the sending unit, which is a blue wire. So I don't know why they didn't use a blue wire, but that's my guess, because the orange is typically, like on the next gen Fords, when it's a 4-plug, the orange is a pump ground. So I don't know why they chose to use orange for the sending unit, but I'm assuming that's what it is. Alright, so we've got the connectors on. Pump, sending unit. This is the new ground, which is gonna be for the pump. And then this is the old ground, which is like for the sending unit, I'm assuming. And it's the deadbolt place, but this wire's a bit short. It should be long enough, but I'd like it to be, you know, as long as all the other ones. So I think I'm gonna replace it, just so that I don't put the connector on and end up short. Just because I did have to cut them, so I cut them very short, close to the connector, but still, you know, like, it won't take me long to do it, and I think it'll be worth it. Clean up the ground too. Alright, new ground is set. I decided to just add it in beside the other new one. It's just a lot easier, and new wire, new everything. It's probably for the best. And they seem to have a good little connection there. So I just tested the pump. The wiring seems to be right. It came on. It's very, very loud and very fast compared to the old one. So that's good. I'm happy with that. We're gonna put the lock ring on here, but I actually forgot to put the gasket. So I gotta take this back out, put the gasket in, and then we'll lock it down. All right, we got the lock ring on. I believe that's where it's supposed to sit. I've never done one of these before, this style, so that looks right. That looks right. All right. And that's not going anywhere, so I got this back in. Everything is ready to go to get this back and mounted up underneath this baby right here. Okay, so I got the tank lined up, ready to go. Filler hose, vent, and then this is the return line, and this is the pump line. So you got the connector up there. It's gonna have to sit on backwards, which is weird, but should be good. And then we got the top brackets and the bottom brackets that hold it up over there. So I think I'm gonna try and put these hoses on and then lift it up, get this back bracket in so it's kind of holding itself together. Second bracket, and then I'll finish off with the hoses over there, unless I can do them before I have to get all the brackets done, which would be nice, but we'll see how it all pieces together. But I'll show you guys in a little bit. Hopefully this doesn't take me too long. Alright y'all, we are ready to put the new midship tank in, and the vent's in. I got my lock ring, and most importantly, I've got the new pump, strainer, and a new float. I'm very surprised I was able to find a new float, but fortunately for me, it all worked out. So we're gonna get this installed. First things first in here, and then we'll get the tank mounted up, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. Should be pretty simple. It's a bit smaller than the other one, so I feel like it'll be a little easier. Alright guys, and just like that, the new tank in the middle is installed. New T-straps. The only modification needed was the T was too wide to get through this hole, so I had to trim the edge off on both sides, and they bolted up just fine. I got new hoses in there, and the back's all done up, so that's it for the tank installation. The new sending unit, float and pump are in there. All that's left for the fuel system is to get some actual fuel. So once I do that, we'll test it out and see how she runs. But all in all, guys, that's everything in terms of fuel tank replacement and installation. New sending units, new pumps, new wiring in the back, all that good stuff. I already have a new fuel filter in, new fuel lines. I put a new fuel filler hose in the back yesterday. Very expensive hose, but it was needed, so couldn't really avoid that. But that's it for the fuel system. It's going to be literally brand new for everything. The relays that are also new as well, so she should run great and serve me well on the road. So I'll give you some clips of it running in just a few minutes, but yeah guys, I hope you enjoyed, and if this helped you, or you know someone that needs to do this with their 3rd gen Econoline, definitely send them this video. I hope it helps them out. And as always, remember to keep loving your heart. Fix something, build something. I'll see you soon. Peace, fam.